Hello, everyone. My name is Aidan Rodriguez. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Ionavation Podcast.
I'm Aileen Cordero.
And I'm Christian Collazo.
So, we're just going to jump straight into it. So, Christian, when working on a project for any business or brand, how do you go about understanding their brand identity and message?
First, scheduling a consultation is very important. And the questions that you just asked, you ask your client. It's literally that simple, right? It's a little bit more than that, so I'll get into that in a second. So I work with a creative director. Mm-hmm. So she has a list of questions that she asks. Her major, when she was in school, psychology. Mm-hmm. So she's asking really pertinent questions that involves the brand, and then also subset questions that involve like, what are your brand colors, right? That's very important. So colors are important in telling and crafting a brand's identity because certain colors invoke different moods, right? So we like to incorporate all that, but we start off with a consultation, and then that we like to find out what is the product or service the individual offers, and then from there we start to craft their brand identity and their story.
So talking more about crafting your brand identity, how are you able to connect emotionally with your target customers?
You have to use, if it's social media, you want to use hooks, right? Hooks allow for engagement of the person to see the content. Mm-hmm. And then from that, you want to make sure that you're clear to the message of what you're proposing and whatnot, right? Social media is fast, so it has to be quick, So once you get the individual to stop, they're thinking like, okay, why am I watching this? So you have to get straight to it, right? Yeah. Whereas that would be a little bit different if you're presenting with branding on your website, right? If you need like a video content of your product or your services. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes people think that's complex, but it really isn't. Mm-hmm. If you're offering a service, and I would suggest this, even at the most rudimentary form, let's say you don't have the means to hire someone, you can set up a camera, have a nice audio system, a microphone, and just introduce who you are and speak about the services you provide for your clients. That works extremely well for industries that are more or less like for instance, like if you're a lawyer or a doctor, things like that. So that works well for there. If it's a product, you can talk about the product. But with us, we can craft those storylines for you and things of that nature based on your budget.
Okay. So with that, crafting storylines, posting on social media, that comes with a lot of creativity. So how would you say that you balance your creativity with the strategic goals of the company or business that you're working with?
A lot of it's trial and error at first. If you're starting with a new company, they don't have any content, right? Mm-hmm. Not one post. So it's hard for any company to just like, quote unquote, I don't really like this term, but everybody using it today, like called viral or whatnot, but let's call it gain awareness, right? So in order for you to gain awareness, you have to actually be active on the social platforms. Mm-hmm. And that's trial and error, because you have to be able to, the most important thing is this. The most important thing is, are you being clear and concise as to how you represent your brand, mm-hmm. right? How you represent your product, your services. You start with that. Then you can get a little bit creative, right? Mm-hmm. Right? If I'm selling this cup of coffee, right? This will make different creative ways, right? I can dress this coffee out. I can just put it down, right? I can drink it and show some emotion, right? You can do stuff like that. Yeah, there's endless ways to do the mundane tasks and keep it like creative or whatnot.
Are there any key storytelling advice that you give to your clients to evoke that type of emotion?
Yes. Key advice is, first is what is your purpose? Like, what is your reason to sell this? Like, why, right? If it's if it's for your family, just speak about that. At the end of the day, you're engaging with people that's very, very important, right? The best sellers connect with the human heart, right? So if your brand connects with someone's heart, they will spend their money, their hard-earned dollars to purchase whatever it is you're selling. And that's transferable. That's actually a unique skill. You can use that you don't have to be an entrepreneur to do that. You can work in a corporate setting, and if you have that skill, you will be of value and you can make a whole bunch of money. It's just the reality of the world we live in.
So how would you say that you ensure each video's brand consistency, especially with different social media platforms or formats of video?
By staying consistent. There should be a consistent branding across all channels with a little quirks. Consistency in terms of visual quality, right? So whether you're posting on TikTok or Instagram or LinkedIn, the video quality is just gonna look amazing, right? My company does not sacrifice on the quality. The messaging might be different though, because that has to be geared towards your target audience, right? The way you show up on Instagram is not the way you show up on TikTok, right? That's pretty evident. Also too, knowing when to use what's organic content, which is like filming. I'll give an example. Filming on this on your phone and creating content on your phone is totally different than creating on that camera C100 right there, right? That's going to produce a high quality image. So you're speaking to a different type of individual, right? If you're selling a product, if you're selling a luxury brand product, your clientele might want to see how it looks in the now, in the present. So you would use this, you see?
Because it's faster.
On your website, you want to use that because you have one shot to show the best looking image and quality of the fabric, the material, and present the story in a cinematic perspective or way. So yeah.
So lastly, what advice would you want to give to aspiring videographers that may want to make a living off of their work?
Wow, that's interesting. I would say this: don't be scared to test things out and start. The quicker you start, the better you get. There's so many different aspects to filming, right? Especially videography work. Videography work includes knowing how to create a decent looking image or a high quality image, understanding the technicalities of your camera, but more importantly, like the other elements that make a good end product, which would be audio, right? And lighting. That's very important, right? When you master those three things, then you'll be able to take on all different type of projects, especially nowadays in this world we live in, where a lot of social media content is being taken over, right? So yeah, I think that the only way you're gonna learn how to do like what I do is by trial and error. So being able to like fail is okay, and being comfortable with failure and that's how you learn. So then that's how you're gonna learn about the different aspects of the camera. That's how you're gonna learn about selling, marketing yourself, being out there, and learning how to like deal with creating visual content in small subset periods of time. I don't think that's spoken about a lot. A lot of people, I'll just talk a little bit about that real quick because that's not really shared and spoken about. So like I create visual content for my clients, which means that you have to meet up with people, whether it's actors, whether it's models, and you only have a few hours in that particular day to get all the shots that you need to tell and craft the story. So the pre-production aspect of it is very important. So scripting, sitting down, writing down, coming up with an idea of what you want to capture. If you're able to process visually, creating pictures helps so you can understand the framing of things, because when you understand framing, you get to craft your story in a particular way. I'll give you a quick example of that. If I wanted to make this coffee engaging to the viewer, I would capture a wide perspective shot with the coffee in the middle, and I would pan into the coffee, so now your eyes directly go to the coffee. And then the next shot would be maybe a view, close-up, mid-level shot of you grabbing the coffee. So now it's like, oh, I want that coffee. I know the subject is the coffee, right? But if you're able to plan those shots out beforehand, then just coming up and doing it the day of, you save so much time. And then effectively you get to create a better product and tell a better story, because you can capture all your shots and then you can go ahead and get any creative shots that you want that you didn't think of at first, right? So you can provide more value to your clients and stuff. But yeah, it's all a process, and I'll leave it at that.
Awesome. So where can the people watching this video find you?
Okay, cool. My website is www.baskuiat.com. So that's www.baskuiat.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Baskuiat, Baskuiat. I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Christian Collazo. And yeah.
So I've been your host, Aidan Rodriguez.
And I've been Aileen Cordero.
And I'm Christian Collazo. Thank you for having me.